all this, I found what I would call, should I say, maybe I would say my calling, because I enjoyed it. While I was writing, I was breaking down complex technical terms, making it clear, making it actionable. I found enjoyment in it. So, and that was why I continued, and I've never looked back.
How do you think AI will change open source documentation?
AI has even changed the way documentation is designed, documentation is consumed, documentation is used. This question is vast, and it's been around the front burner in so many forums, so many discussions now. Now, I say that because AI, for me as a technical writer, I see AI as just a tool. Don't wait until you have all the skills in the world. Do not think that having all the skills in the world, maybe trying to be ready and all those stuff like that. No, I just feel that anybody that's interested in making an impact, just go ahead, start and do something.
Welcome to the Knowledge Based Ninjas podcast, where Gauri Ramkumar of Document 360 finds the best SaaS self-service knowledge bases in the world and then interviews their creators. Let's get started with today's episode.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to Knowledge Based Ninjas podcast. With me today, we've got Michael Uzukwu, technical writer and software documentation engineer at Armtech Nigeria Enterprises. Hi, Michael. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Hi, Gauri. I'm fine. I'm very, very happy and good to be here to chat and to talk about the topics that are dear to me and that I'm passionate about. So I'm very, very happy to be here to talk to you and to everyone at large. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for spending your time with us, Michael. And just to highlight 7+ years in this technical writing space is not a joke. So we just wanted to maybe dig a little bit deeper into how you got into this as your career, who's your inspiration, or just tell me a little bit about your background, Michael.
I would say going into technical writing, it was not so linear like some other persons would maybe in their own journey. Some other persons, they just had clear mindsets, clear vision, and where they wanted to go, clear direction. But I didn't have that, probably because I'm kind of a person with so much interest, you know. So I didn't just go straight into technical writing. By the time I finished college, I had some interest. So I started out as just a Python programmer. So I learned the basics. I started with the basics of Python, just learning the syntax, the data structures and all that. So, but at the time then in Nigeria here, there was a time when there was so much talk about data analytics, data science, and stuff like that. So I had a little bit of interest about it. So I started using Python to solve some little problems like retrieving data through web scraping, and also maybe using APIs to retrieve data. So, and then I also looked at things like using some Python libraries like pandas, NumPy, just to analyze data. But that I wasn't enjoying it. I should use that word. I wasn't really enjoying it. So I had to should I say, transit. But the transition didn't just happen like that. I found myself more of writing about my Python, my data science projects, data analytics projects. I would write what a project is about, the steps I took, also some of the results and the conclusion. So, and that was how I kept on documenting my data analytics projects. There are even some of the repos are on GitHub. So you can even find some of these things I'm talking about on my GitHub repo, how I documented my data projects. So even before then, right in college, I had taken up positions like if you know press club in colleges where they write editorials, they communicate about what is happening in the society, in the school. So I've taken up uh, writing, should I say, assignments, task in my college, and I rose up to be the chief editor in my press club in college at Skateville International High School then. So if you watch, I had these communication instincts and interest already even before I finished college. So
Nice.
I would say somebody that actually now opened my eyes. Sometimes you could have some of these skills and you may not know, but somebody around you can maybe try to influence you. So I would say I would credit that to my elder brother who is a DevOps engineer. So he always knew I could write. He always knew that I do write. He tells me that I do write better than him. I could explain things. So he said to me one day, why don't you go into technical writing? I
Yeah.
asked what is technical writing. So he explained, and then I started writing. I started with Google Analytics, Google Technical Writing course. Then I went into this technical writing mentorship program for structured API technical writing skill course, and also the product documentation, where I learned about, should I say, a little bit about open source documentation, about docs as code workflows, Git and GitHub operations, and all that. I even led a team of learners. Then I would say we are all learners, then colleagues, then into, should I say, a a project, although it was fictional then as we were learning, but I happened to lead that team and we did that amazing job. And that job came out third overall in that mentorship program. So from there, the interest continued to build. But in all this, I found what I would call, should I say, maybe I would say my calling, because I enjoyed it. While I was writing, I was breaking down complex technical terms, making it clear, making it
Yeah.
actionable. I found enjoyment in it. So, and that was why I continued, and I've never looked back.
Absolutely. What a great way of explaining how your career path nicely shifted from one direction to another. And as you mentioned, your career transition journey, I'm also curious to understand what skills from data analytics helped you most in technical writing.
Yes, this is a very, very it's a wonderful question, because most times some people do not actually know that just because you're a software engineer or you're into cybersecurity, and then you cannot translate some skills from that into other aspects, other technical aspects. So that actually helped me a lot. In data analytics, I use libraries, like I said, like Pandas,
Yeah.
NumPy, Matplotlib. These libraries, what they do is that I tend to structure data. You have messy data.
Mhm.
You have to clean this data up, make them actionable, make them clean, structure them in a way that you can derive insights and make it do your analysis. So that also translates into technical writing. When you are writing, a technical writer most times would be interfacing with, I will call them product managers and subject matter experts. These product
Yeah.
managers and subject matter experts, they are like the ones that own these projects, what we call the engineers or the brain behind the project. So a technical writer will more or less be working closely with the SMEs, that is subject matter experts and project managers. So you have a whole lot of information around
Mhm.
you, but
Yeah.
that information, you have to know how to now structure it clearly so that users can understand, can adopt it. And that is where what we call information architecture comes into play. But when you look at information architecture, it's all about structure, organizing. So the knowledge and the skill from data in terms of organizing data, structuring data, actually helped me a whole lot in knowing what in dealing with information architecture, breaking
Mhm.
down, arranging these technical terms into logical flow. Most products now you come across, you will see things like after the hero homepage, you see things like the overview or introduction. You will see a quick start. You will see maybe core concepts of the product. You will see tutorials and advanced topics of a documentation. So this is how structure comes into play. Another skill is about attention to detail. You know, that in data as well, one single mistake, a single mistake in data where you don't put the correct data, you don't apply the correct rules or the correct formulas can actually hamper the result of a particular data analysis. So that also translates into documentation in that you have to make sure that when you test systems, and these systems, they do work, and you make sure that these things are well documented. So like I said, learning structure and also attention to detail, these skills, I come across them and I use them in data analysis and also in documentation. Yeah.
Got it, got it. Now everybody's talking about AI, but my question slightly is what makes a cloud native documentation structure fundamentally different from other documentation? So what should as a user, how should they be prepared?
Okay, I would say fundamentally, I would say the main difference from what I've seen is in the target audience. Now, yes, I say that because documentation, the sole purpose of documentation is to explain the product, a tool, so that users can adopt, can understand clearly, and make use of these products to also get to their end point. So, but when you talk about cloud native documentation, we are looking at the users now, the end users. In cloud native documentation, most of the target audience are usually, the SREs, platform engineers, architecture engineers. So it's quite different. These platform engineers and architecture engineers, they are already part of the ecosystem. What I mean by already part of the ecosystem is that in terms of the ecosystem in cloud native tooling, they already understand the basics. So in that aspect, the way you write for these audiences will be quite different from the way you write for, say, maybe just a normal developer, because these persons already understand things like Kubernetes, they understand things like clusters, they understand things like pods. So that is on a different level. The language you use there, the language in documentation for cloud native tools is quite different from normal product tools. So I would say that is one fundamental, should I say, difference there. Another thing I would point out is the ever-changing, should I say, tooling in cloud native systems. A system or a tool like Kubernetes, they usually dish out or they release, give new releases almost every year. So in this industry, when it comes to cloud native tools, you have to constantly keep learning, keep adding more tools and more skill set to yourself. So that is where I see the distinction between cloud native documentation and just the normal technical writing and for normal software and products. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Now, how do you think AI will change open source documentation?
In fact, I would go ahead to say that AI has even changed the way documentation is designed, documentation is consumed, documentation is used, not just how it will. It has already changed it.
Yeah.
It has already changed. I have to say, because the discussions around this question is vast, and it's been around the front burner in so many forums, so many discussions now. Now, I say that because AI, for me as a technical writer, I see AI as just a tool. I would think that so many technical writers would look at AI as a tool and not something that will replace technical writers. Most technical writers are afraid, or some persons are afraid, that AI is coming to take the jobs of technical writers. But in my own opinion, I would say that is not the case. AI is here, but it is here as a tool, and technical writers need to embrace AI as well. So when I say embrace AI, it is coming and it has given that leverage for technical writers to use it as a tool in terms of repetitive task. When you talk about first drafts, when you talk about first making your first draft, looking at things that are not working, AI can help you to do that. But there is a problem. We all know that AI can hallucinate a whole lot. When we say hallucinate, AI can give in fake information and make it so true with confidence. So AI has come, and what it helps to do in documentation is that so many repetitive tasks that we would need to spend time to do, we will now leave AI to do that. AI can also serve as an assistant. Yes. And also, there's what we call retrieval augmented generations now. I don't know if you've heard of that. That is AI agents now crawling documentation. So this has to do with how documentation is also designed. In this day and time, going forward, I think industries and product managers that know what AI is capable of doing, they do structure their documentation, knowing in mind that there are so many AI agents now that are being deployed that help to crawl information from the internet. So in that, I mean that when you are designing documentation, for instance, you have to put that in mind because in this day and time, developers now, there is now a shift in the way that developers use documentation and the way they code and the way they do their work. Traditionally, what developers do is that they look at documentation, they learn about a particular step, they go and implement. But this time around, what they do is that they don't just look at the documentation to learn, they prompt AI for AI to give them codes. Do you get the point? They prompt AI to give them codes. Now, what this AI agent do is that when a prompt is given, the AI searches so many documentation about that specific topic and begins to pull out this information for that user. That is what it does. Now, if your documentation is not structured in a way that AI can pull information in your documentation, then the information and the prompt will not work. So AI has changed the way we structure our documentation because we now have AI agents everywhere that pull documentation, this information when prompt is given. Also, the second aspect is that there is this aspect of repetitive task. Now AI can generate drafts. AI can do so many repetitive tasks, just like I've mentioned before. AI can check for incomplete documentation. But there is a caveat here. In all this, the human being is still the chief validator. We should not replace the place of human beings because, like I've said, AI can hallucinate a lot. So human beings, after all said and done, we human beings, the engineers, the documentation engineers, we must also be there to validate. If not, we may run into problem with having AI contents and docs work that are incorrect. So I would say that AI, there is a whole lot of influence of AI in documentation at this time. So yeah, and it will continue like that.
Yeah, that's very, very detailed, Michael. Thank you for that. My last question before the rapid fire round is, can you help us understand what exactly an LFX mentorship is? Because this is something new I saw in your profile and I thought, let's have a chat about it. And yeah, just to help us understand what does that mean, please?
Okay, so the LFX mentorship is Linux Foundation mentorship. So it's a collaboration between Linux Foundation and Cloud Native Computing Foundation, that is LFX CNCF. Now, what the LFX mentorship is about contributors and maintainers having the opportunity to contribute to real-world documentation projects that is sponsored by Linux Foundation in conjunction with Cloud Native Computing Foundation. So contributors to open source have this opportunity to work on these projects. These projects are real world projects. They are real projects. And LFX and CNCF do sponsor these projects. They do pay stipends to mentees, and mentees do apply to these projects, and they get selected, having done a review of the application, just like any other job application would should I say, go through. And then once you're selected, you have the opportunity to work on these very, very exciting projects, just like I applied for the one on K Gateway, and I got selected for the project on documentation improvements with Open ID Connect and JSON Web Tokens integrations with K Gateway. It's just documentation surrounding the whole security documentation of K Gateway. So this is actually a very good way to learn without so much pressure on real world projects, without so much pressure. I want to emphasize the word so much pressure, because most times new, should I say, techies or documentation engineers or writers, they are faced with these pressures of having a real world project. But this is a mentorship that is well structured, and without much pressure, you could work, learn. The most important thing there is for you to learn a whole lot. So, and that is what it is. I've been contributing for K Gateway for some time, and I was lucky to be selected this time around. So, yeah.
Nice, thank you. That's something that I really wanted to have a chat, and that now gives us a good perspective. Can we move to the rapid fire round questions, please?
Yes, yes, yes. I would be happy
Yeah.
to hear some of them.
Good. By the way you spoke and a very detailed explanation for every single question I asked, I'm sure you must be reading a number of documentation resources. So anything that you would like to recommend to our audiences, Michael, at this point of time?
Okay, yes, yes. Actually, I would say, first of all, it is good for maybe upcoming, not just upcoming, anybody involved in documentation, technical writing. There is this platform, I don't know if you know about Write the Docs. There's Write the Docs. It's
Yeah.
just called Write the Docs platform. And I happen to be there in their Slack channel. So anybody can go to their Slack channel and look for Write the Docs. And in the Slack channel, you can learn about conferences, new directions and tooling in technical writing. You can also learn about upcoming events in technical writing. There's also a place where you can also search for jobs as well. But the most important thing is that people do post about blogs, technical writing blogs, technical ideas in technical writing, new technology, new ways of writing, of communicating, of doing things there. So I think that is a good resource, a good platform for not just upcoming technical writers, but anyone that wants to grow within a community, having like minds and discussing. So that is one of them. The second one, if somebody is interested in cloud native tooling and documentation, would be the Kubernetes Slack Kubernetes group, the documentation about Kubernetes. So if anybody wants to go into documenting cloud native tools, I would recommend, first of all, going to the Kubernetes documentation, the reference docs. Go through there, you would understand what Kubernetes is about how to use, configure clusters, how to use, what clusters about, what pods are all about, and all that. So many information, because most of the cloud native tools, whether you talk about K Gateway, you talk about Linkerd, you talk about Volcano, they are all built on Kubernetes. So you must understand Kubernetes, how to host Kubernetes, how to configure it, how to deploy it, to be able to document. Because once you don't understand these tools, you may not be able to document them. So these would be my recommendations. Yeah.
Nice. So one word that comes to your mind when you hear documentation.
So I would say clarity. For me, clarity. So important in documentation.
Now, a piece of advice you would give to your 20-year-old self?
Okay, I would say, there's this thing about young persons. thinking that maybe they have to start at a particular level, maybe they have to grow to a particular level before they think that they can make impact. So if any 20-year-old will be watching this podcast, I would say don't wait until you have all the skills in the world. Do not think that having all the skills in the world, maybe trying to be ready and all those stuff like that. No, I just feel that anybody that is interested in making an impact, just go ahead, start and do something. And also, the second thing I would say is always try to write. Just keep writing. And when you keep writing, some of the things you may write may not be the way you structure them, your language may not be too correct, but in writing, you will develop this actual sense, this cognitive sense of now having that writing, should I say, habit, the writing habit, and communication in general. So I would say just write, communicate as much as you can, give your thoughts, whatever you're thinking about, write them, put them out there for people to see. Some of them may not be correct. You would find people that want to say, okay, this is not correct, do it like this and do it like this, but that's fine. But you staying back and saying, maybe I'm not ready, I'm not good for this, that is not the way to go. So I would say just go ahead and do something. You may not know what is coming on.
Very, very well said, Michael. Thank you for wonderful answers to all the questions I had for you today that I missed to ask you that you would like to share with our audiences.
Well, I would say that not much. I would just say anybody going into documentation is not making a mistake, especially documentation engineering. It is not a mistake. It looks so simple, When they talk about documentation, it looks so simple. Maybe I would even add maybe ordinary to some persons. Some persons want to hear about the software engineers, the DevOps engineers. But when you actually look at it, documentation and technical writers, they actually play a very, very important role to that product, that software, and all that. So if you're thinking that maybe this is not, maybe you have passion for it, but you're thinking that it is not so popular or it doesn't have so much prestige, I would like to say no, that is not the case. You would actually make it, should I say, make a good career from technical writing. The main thing you have to do here is you just have to be good at what you do. So in summary, I would say technical writing and documentation engineering is a good career for someone that wants to break into tech. So yeah.
Thank you. That's really, really wonderful. And all I can do now is wish you all the very best for your future projects. I personally learned quite a bit from this call today. And all the very best and good luck.
Yeah. Once again, thank you for having me. And probably I look forward to having this discussion again some other time if there's the opportunity. So
sure, Michael. Take care.
Enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Knowledge Base Ninjas podcast. Please head to iTunes, rate, and provide honest feedback on the podcast. See you next week.